So we already talked about moral hazard, other limits of insurance. So one limit of insurance, but I wanted to emphasize that because I wanted to emphasize that this is not just a limit of insurance, it's a limit of any institution that is not enforced by legal punishments. So anything that's not enforced by legal punishments is fragile always. It depends on, it will work if it works, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? That's sort of the main point of that example, that if we all stop paying money into the fund, then the fund will die, so I might as well take my money and run. That's true of not just of insurance, of any other kind of institution. Now, moral hazard we've talked about. I'm going to skip moral hazard. Here's another problem with informal insurance. This is sort of what we've been talking about a bit, but so this is we've been sort of talking about implicitly, default, but we've also been talking about one thing that an insurance arrangement demands is that when it's your turn to pay, you pay. Sometimes you get money from the fund, sometimes you pay into the fund. You have to be willing to pay money into the fund, right? That's what keeps it going. Why do you want to keep putting money in the fund? We said this already, but just to repeat. Why would today I am rich, I want to put money into the fund so that somebody else can take it out. Why would I want to do it? Why does anyone want to put money into a fund? Sorry? Yeah, eventually I'm going to either, you'll pay me some return on the fund, but if it has to have an insurance component, then it has to be that the return I get on it is lower than the market return. Because otherwise, they could have borrowed from the market. It doesn't provide any insurance. So it can't be just because I want to get the money back, because then it must be because I expect that I will be able to borrow from the fund in the future as well. So I will be willing to put money into a fund which pays lower than market rates, which is what insurance is. Insurance is that I'm willing to lend to someone at lower than market rates so that he doesn't, when he's in bad shape, he doesn't suffer too much. So that's what's insurance.
That would also probably be a reason why wealthier people would be less likely to give into a fund, right? Because they're already exposed to less risks.
So exactly. So
I thought you said that why would a rich person want to do it? So I was like, I don't know why a rich person.
Well, one reason they may want to do it is that they feel the same need as. So why would I put money into, what's an insurance fund? Insurance fund is a fund where I put in money so that other people can be helped in return for the fact that they will put in money and I will be helped. Why would I put in money now? Because I expect to be helped in the future. So what are the kinds of people who don't want to join that fund? You already gave one answer, which is people who are rich. They don't expect to get helped. So that's why you're going to see that if there's a lot of inequality in the village, you're unlikely to see a fund. Because the rich don't really think that they can be helped by the poor. If they ever need money, they're going to need them, $100,000. The poor won't have it, and otherwise they won't need money. Yeah.
I think the chapter also mentioned planning inconsistency as one factor. I mean, if people always postpone, they value future outcomes less than present ones.
Right. So you need to be forward-looking. To be willing to behave well, you need to be forward-looking. If I always think that, well, I'll just not pay now and whatever happens in the future, then that's not going to work. You need to be forward-looking. And what's the point about migration? Why is migration important?
Could you say that you have to expect to be in that area to...
In the village, yeah. You need to be in the village. To benefit from the fund, if I expect to go away, I'm not going to be I don't know whether I'm going to be here to benefit from this fund. So if there's a lot of mobility in a place, then everything falls apart. So if you're nearer, so one of the things that villages that are closer to the road, to a big city, find it harder to insure each other. Why? Because everybody there has a link to the city, so they don't know whether they're going to help from the village or they're going to go to the city and get a job there. And so given that I am not committed to being in the village, it's very hard to give me insurance. So all of these things, you need low mobility, low inequality, and forward-looking people. Yeah.
Also, would you say that people have access to ways to save their money?
Right. That's an excellent point. What would a bank account do? A bank account would undermine insurance. Why? Because in a bank account, I now can get high return on my savings. So I'm going to be more tempted to say, when I have money, it's more tempting for me to put it in the bank account rather than put it in this fund, which is going to pay me a low return because it's trying to help out other people. So any outside options that you provide, so financial development might undermine local institutions. So you might actually see worse institutions where the financial system is better formally.